What is the most severe case of someone being completely out of touch with reality you've ever seen? My friend stole my card information and bought loads of expensive stuff. I asked her if it was her before reporting it, knowing that she was going through a tough time and I wanted to give her a chance to make it right and that I could be in trouble for conspiracy to fraud if I reported it, and they believed I'd got stuff delivered to my friend to claim fraud for the money back. She said no. I thought someone else had done it, so I reported it. When she got arrested, she said she didn't think they'd take the fraud thing so far. She thought you could just call up banks to get the money back and they wouldn't investigate. I was at a bar and some guy was giving an impromptu lecture of why millennials are so broke and blamed it all on us being lazy students who don't want to work and go to school. When asked what he did, he was a property owner and owned a few apartment buildings. Then someone chimes up with the fact he doesn't own any properties, he manages them for his uncle who pays him to do nothing all day. I'm fairly convinced that my current shift supervisor thinks anyone who works an overtime shift is doing it out of loyalty to the company, and not because of the 1.5x pay rate. Had a friend who insisted she was in a relationship with a C-list celebrity whom she met once during a comic convention. All the celebrity's Instagram and Twitter posts were for her and everything had a meaning behind it. When the celebrity got married, she said that it was just for the media so she and celebrity could live a quiet life. When he didn't do anything for her birthday, she had a breakdown. She went to therapy not long after. My cousin was spoiled and sheltered her entire childhood through college. Then her parents stupidly cut the leash without any preparation and released her into society. She quickly got in trouble for bouncing checks all over town. My mom picked her up and asked why the hell she was writing bad checks everywhere. Turns out my cousin was under the impression that as long as you had checks in your checkbook, you had money in your account. She didn't understand that you deposit in a number and then can spend or withdraw up to that amount. Please teach your kids basic finance. Note: this was like 1996 before it turns into a "who writes a check anymore" discussion. I had a neighbor once that was convinced I was flirting with him and wanted to be with him. He got all of this from the one-word verbal exchange we would have while getting our mail, which was basically saying, "Hi." Keep in mind that at the time I was a minor in high school and he was probably well into his 20s. He proceeded to harass and stalk me. Examples: 1. Messaging me on Facebook declaring his love for me and feeling wronged because I was playing hard to get. 2. He would knock at our house door when he knew my parents weren't home and tried to lure me out so that he could just talk to me. 3. Searched me up on all my social media accounts and tried to contact me. He used my last name from our mailbox and searched for me. It did not help that we lived in the same building. I got so scared that I could no longer go outside for a run like I usually did. I filed a police report and his family asked mine to please forgive his son. This completely freaked me out and my family decided to move. Edit. To clarify, I had just turned 16 and the guy was probably 25 to 26-year-olds at the time this happened. My old boss at the time was a girl of 26 who got $4 million from her mom a year to play with. Her mom is very wealthy in China. Her daughter is here trying to be a CEO of a company for funsies. I accidentally got a job at that company. One day she told us we were all going on a group outing for bonding. She took us to an outlet mall 4 hours away. Told the rest of us 7 people that she was going to go shop and she'd see us later. That was code for "don't follow me, fuckers." Every 2 hours she'd let us know she was going to go unload her bags to the giant van they rented and would group text us telling us we can meet her there to unload as well. We all get paid under $50K. We have nothing to unload. By lunch she had proceeded to fill up the van with shit. She then asks me where all my new stuff is and I said I am budgeting right now. She goes, "Take out a credit card and go shop. That's the American way." Seriously. Okay. By 9 p.m. her bags were taking up people's seats and they had to sit with her stuff. She spent $30K. The rest of us spent about $70. We were tired and bored and cold. To this day I still believe she thinks she did something nice for us, and doesn't understand how polarizing and not at all team bonding that was. I have an aunt who's never really worked a day in her life because her husband created his own business early on in life. They live in a McMansion and I was over once and we got to talking about fitness, and she told me, "Oh yeah, we send Pamela to this special training gym. It's only $200 a week. You should try it." The fact that to her it was only $200 really kills me. I made $9.95 an hour at the time. She's nice enough but not in touch with reality at all. This is my time to shine. So I grew up with a lot of restrictions that at the moment had no idea the options existed. For example, I was only allowed 2 options of shoes, but the catch was that I need to make the right choice. Or that I can make friends on my own. Not needing to be told this is your new friend now, so go play with them. Sadly, my dad kept me in a small box and he was the only one allowed to control what would go into that box or come out. So when I was 10, CPS was involved and was taken into foster care. That's when my world exploded. I didn't know truly how bad it was until they took me to a shoe store and told me to pick out ones I liked. I swear for the life of me I had no clue what to do. I stood there for what felt was hours until they noticed and asked what my favorite color was. I said green because that was what my father told me I liked, but I guess I was too overwhelmed that I just remember saying yes to everything and ended up with ugly brown and pink sneakers. What children learn to do at their normal age is what I am just figuring it out in my 20s, so reality was a hard thing to live because the whole time I was in my dream world. This was from a regional manager of Starbucks. After they removed merit-based raises that could go up to a 5% increase, changed to a flat 2% increase, when she asked if people liked the new raise plan, I said actually no. They feel unmotivated with no reason to perform any better than just normal. Regional manager. Your staff need to realize working isn't about money. One bully of a boss asking the 3 people who suffered most from his behavior if they would want to move to a new employer with him as a team. How about, no way in hell? Streamer that I watched a couple of times before his behavior drove me to stop. It was a shame because when he was actually gaming, I liked the content, but his attitude drove you up the wall. And by attitude, I mean raging, back when I watched him. The rest of the events in this post hadn't happened yet. But the out of touch with reality part, he talked about his girlfriend on stream a few times. Nothing wrong with that. Except his girlfriend was a female streamer who lived in Europe, he was from the States, and he'd never actually met her in his life. She got wind of this through shared viewers and debunked the story on her stream, saying she'd never even interacted with him. This caused him to go nuts and start stalking the girl wherever he could, causing her to eventually stop streaming, delete all her social media and so on. After his Twitch account was banned for this, he eventually managed to convince Twitch to unban him and then did the same thing to a different girl. Now he's been permanently banned from Twitch as a result of this, again, and keeps raging about it on Twitter. Just to clarify, I don't follow this guy, but someone posts about him on the game subreddits every now and then. Which is why I know the story. Some people are just bananas. I knew a girl who cheated on her boyfriend. When he found out, he broke up with her. She said, "You can't break up with me. It has to be mutual." Working in a pharmacy. 1. Sorry. Could I get your name first? 1. Did you have a prescription? It went on like this for literally 20-something minutes. Here's what I found out in that time. By little yellow round ones. He meant red, orange circular Xarelto tablets. He had been on a lower dose a couple of years ago. He had not filled the yellow ones in over 18 months. There was one dispense tech who knew his name and knew his doctor. By sheer coincidence, she'd greeted him every time he came in for the last 2 to 3 years. He physically had no idea how a pharmacy works. He'd only even been to this one. Only ever picked up one medication and only through one tech who knew the doctor sent his scripts through every few months. It was surreal. Explaining reality to somebody who by pure fortune had never experienced it. I knew someone who unironically tried to convine that not only is Pokémon demonic, but they exist in real life and there are reported cases of them attacking and harming people. My stepfather's grandpa suffered from psychosis in a strange way. He wasn't able to distinguish mirror reflections from real life. He would often be found talking to the mirrors. His reflection. For hours. Later on, he wasn't allowed to have any mirrors because he would believe that man was there to kill him and often would turn violent. Turn violent as in he would start punching and clawing against the mirrors. A woman I knew a few years ago. She had a job. She was convinced she was supposed to be a movie star. She never did any acting. Though, she also told me about the married man that she had slept with. He loves me, but he can't leave his wife. She actually did stop having sex with him. But they still hung out. My sister-in-law, kicked out by her boyfriend, comes to stay with us for a few days. We suggest looking for a flat, cheap house to rent near us. She won't live in the scummy part of town near us. She'd like a 3-bed house with garden in the best part of town. She has no savings and isn't sure if she has a job. Was a part-time cashier in a supermarket. Stopped going to work when COVID came. Note, not furloughed. Supermarket still open. She's just not going in. When I suggested maybe she couldn't afford $500K on a family home on her salary, she suggested she'd just get a council house. Disregarding the huge waiting list and the fact that most council properties are the ghetto parts of town. This is just the crust of a deep layer of unhinged fantasy world that she lives in. My boss's wife, 28. She grew up in a wealthy family and married to a man who was third generation owning the company he was in. They were a regional power, etc. She was talking to a staff that in general made $36K a year, mumbling about a staffer who was on his honeymoon. Tennessee. Ha, Tennessee. She looked around the room for everyone to join in. My God. How did she agree to that? We did Hawaii and that was least I told him was acceptable.